Hello and welcome to Tight Lines. Over the past few years there's been an ever-increasing amount of lady anglers on the banks. Not sure whether that's made us blokes more gentlemanly, perhaps we'll find out later this evening. As well as an improvement in facilities on coarse fisheries, we probably have trout fishing to thank for the increase in female participants. And one of the people responsible for that joins me in the body this evening. Lucy Bowden has been fly fishing virtually since she could walk and formed her Fishing for Everyone club to help involve even more ladies in the sport. It's a pleasure to have her here for the first time. Lucy, it's great to have you here.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How's the fishing been?
Going well, actually, yes. We haven't been out recently. We've got an event coming up in the next couple of weeks, so the club and I are going to be venturing out in a few weeks' time.
Well, I know you work in the tackle trade, as I have for a long time. You're probably the most famous tackle company in the world. Yes. Does that stop you going fishing, or does it give you more time to go?
It probably stops me going fishing, if I'm honest with you. I tend to spend most of my time going fishing with the club and not a lot of free time for myself, shall we say.
It's incredible, isn't it? The more involved you get with the sport, the less you can get out and do it.
It's amazing because a lot of people do find that. A lot of people, certainly that I work with, they fish lots before they came to the company, and obviously now, working in the fishing industry, you already do it. It's mad.
It's also like having, I suppose, parents owning a sweet shop, you know, when it's there in front of you every day. What shall I do? When you do get out, because you love your fly fishing, do you any other kinds of angling?
I've done a wee bit of other different kinds of angling. So I've done carp, done a lot of sea fishing, but mainly the fly fishing. That's my real passion.
And you're quite spoiled for it around there. You've got some good waters to go to.
Yeah, living in Northumberland, we have various different waters. Depends what kind of fishing you want, whether you want the smaller lochs or the rivers or whatever. You've got them all nearby. It's great.
Yeah, you have everything from
half an hour away.
From North Yorkshire up,
yeah.
Very lucky.
Great,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a predictive trout. It said, "Oh, they're going to win the World Cup." We don't need octopuses. What is it that makes you want to go fishing, doesn't it? That just makes you want to go.
It does. Watching that, yes, it does. It really does inspire you to want to go out. Yeah.
And there's no doubt that the excitement of watching that fish take the fly. I mean, that is just the money shot. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it is again. Look, have a look at this. Look, just see the bulge in the water coming from the left-hand side of the screen. Watch it. Here it comes. There's the bulge. There's the mouth. There's the fly going. Dorsal fin out, tail. Just see the line tighten there. Look, there it is. And that's when I know what happened to Chris on the bank. His heart started going boom, 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 because mine always does. And I expect yours does.
Every single time, the adrenaline just stops pumping and you just, love it.
And when you see them take the...
I love that.
It's all right when you get them following a buzzer or following a lure and bow waving, but when you see that and it comes from nowhere, it's heart-stopping stuff.
Yeah,
and how many times, I know, well, you probably haven't, how many times you struck too soon?
Well, I used to do that quite a bit, actually. I'm thinking back, oh, God, it's awful, that.
It really
Isn't it?
Yeah. But what is it they used to say? You've got to say, God save the Queen.
Yes, that's exactly right, yes. And for the timing.
Well, an old friend of mine, Billy Makin, he lives in somewhere warmer now, the one who built Makin's fishery. He always used to say when he was gudgeon fishing, he used to say, "Thank you, Mr. Gudgeon, for taking my bait before." He used to catch hundreds and hundreds of them. If you strike too soon, you miss them or you lose.
Gone.
That's brilliant. Welcome back to Tight Lines, where this week I've been joined by fly angler Lucy Bowden. Now, in her role as a coach and founder of a ladies' club, she obviously comes into contact with plenty of younger anglers. How about that? Some great young anglers then. I suppose, do you get involved with many youngsters in your role as a coach?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, obviously, largely through the club, which is the main capacity in which I, involve myself in with young anglers. We have about 10 in total currently. Yeah, we have quite a few. A lot of them come with their mothers, which is really very nice. But going forward, we're hoping to develop that a lot more and try and increase the amount of juniors in there, because juniors are the future. They're the future for angling. We need to get more of them into it.
Do you get anything in reverse? Do you get like youngsters introducing their mums to the sport and their mums take it up?
Yes, very much so. One girl in particular, she was 12 years old, and she came along, and the next time she brought her mum, and her mum actually really, really enjoyed it. Now they come together.
That's great.
So it's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice.
How do you find it when they handle fish for the first time? Because I know every time we talk about fishing in here, there's quite a large female contingent here at Sky. They go, "Oh, how do you touch them and how do you handle?" And once you get that confidence, I suppose it's no problem. How do you give them the confidence?
I tend to take a step back and let them you know, handle the fish. And the last thing we want is to discourage them from handling the fish. So I get them stuck in. Obviously, they wet their hands first, and they just dive in and hold, usually for a photograph. So it's about not drawing a boundary. It's about just letting them have a go and give it a go.
And there's some mucky parts of fly fishing as well, because when you catch fish, a lot of the time you're going to kill them, you're going to take them home and eat them. How do they feel about that dispatching with the priest? I mean, it's something that we all get accustomed to, and especially coarse anglers, and I come obviously from coarse angling background, and I felt I could never do that to a carp or a chub, but I can to a trout, and it's getting it done for the first time. Do you ever get any drawbacks on that?
I get a bit of both. I think it depends on the individual largely. Some of the girls are really excited about killing their first fish. They're really up for it. On the other hand, some are just desperate to put it back. Just let it go back, let it live for another day, and it's just either way. It depends on the individual.
Because that's fine if they're wild fish, but many cases in commercial trout fisheries, you're not allowed to. You've got to kill them.
You've got to kill them.
And you know, we have to realise, and everybody has to appreciate, they're a food crop. It's like producing you know, other stuff that we're going to eat.
That's right.
Now on to the more practical fishing side of things. You mentioned the club, but how often do you go out?
We tend to go out at least once a month. Yes, myself and Rebecca, who's the vice chair in the club and also the head coach, we both work full time. So we find once a month, you know, is works well for everybody. So yeah, we tend to go once a month. Sometimes we'll go a bit often, but it tends to be just the once a month, and usually over a weekend, or a Saturday or a Sunday.
I'm going to be as discreet as possible here. Like I never like to introduce women to the age thing. But how old were you when you started the club?
Oh, when I started the club, well, I'm 23 now.
Oh, I didn't want that to slip out.
As a club, no, that's fine. I don't mind.
Wait till you're 43, you won't be so keen,
I won't
I
be saying
you.
it then. As a official angling club, it was April last year. God, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, it was April last year, and the year before I set it up as my club, if you know what I mean. So I launched it as sort of Lucy's club, as you like, and then a year later we sort of said, right ladies, it was sort of the back end towards that year, we said look, it's really taken off here, and it was more a case of needing extra help because it was really starting to grow and quite big, and I thought, oh God, I can't do this myself. So yeah, that's what we did. So we've got a great team, great committee of girls now. It's really good.
It sounds it as well. And then the coaching thing, did you take up coaching qualifications immediately, or did that come before the club or after?
Yeah, the coaching thing was interesting. Years ago, I think it was it 2 years ago?
23, and you're talking about years ago, yeah, right. I'm
no,
qualified
you know
to talk
what
about
I mean.
years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, I did my level 1 qualification, but I had people battling on at me for, I would say, 5 years previous to that, saying, for goodness sake, Lucy, take your coaching qualification. You can do it, you know what you're doing, just take it. But I didn't feel ready, and I didn't feel I wanted to push myself into that. I think everyone needs to do things in their own time, and I just wasn't content doing that. So it was this year I qualified for my level 2, and never looked back. So pleased I did it.
When you get someone coming to you and says, I want to start fly fishing, you get them on the bank, what's the first thing you instill into them, the very, very first thing?
The first thing is safety. The first thing, and it always will be safety, whatever happens. What we do on a club day, certainly, before we even leave the fishing lodge, which is where we meet, we do a safety briefing. So we do an introduction to the day. You did, yes, of course. Yeah. We did an introduction to the day, and then we do a safety briefing. So we discuss hats, which is very important for casting flies. Glasses, always wear a pair of glasses, always. No excuse. I find a lot of ladies don't like wearing glasses or hats, which is a bit of an odd thing. I think it messes up the hair, and that's what it's down to.
And then some of them use the glasses to hold their hair back anyway, don't they?
Yes, they do, and no, they've got to be on, and I say I'm not being held responsible if something happens to you. Glasses and a hat at all times, and watch your footing, watch where you're walking all the time, because you know what it's like by the river or by the lake. It's a bit unsteady. So,
it can be, you're right, and it is a dangerous element. And the amazing thing is, I always find strange anyway, when I go out on a boat, especially fly fishing, I'm always given a fly jacket.
Yes.
It's far more difficult to drown from a boat than it is from the bank.
It is, I know.
You don't have to wear a life jacket on the bank, which is crazy.
No, you don't.
Now somebody you've bought, is this your actual fly box, or is it some nice new glossy one?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's a few, because my fly box is a bit of a mess, if I'm honest with you.
Do you try flies?
No, goodness me, I'm not interested, no.
Really?
No. That's something, my dad does it. That's something I've never taken interest to. Never. I don't know if it's because years ago when he tried to show me, he was right-handed and I'm left-handed, and I'm wondering if, you know, when you think back, if it was something to do with that. But I'm not a fly tie at all.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to admit that.
You got some nice patterns in here. We saw Chris Sanford there catching on that mayfly, and of course this is the next stage along the line, probably the next seasonal variation on the mayfly. This is the daddy, and we've not seen many daddy longlegs down here because it's been so flipping dry. And I think in the northwest it's been very dry as well. But once the rain starts to come and the grass starts to grow again, these little boys will be coming out the ground in their thousands, and the trout have a feast on these. In still waters, probably more important than the mayfly. And that's a great little bit. What sort of things are you using at the moment on the still waters? Buzzery type stuff?
Buzzers mainly. I've got a few in there that I've been using. Like I say, I haven't been out for a few weeks now, so we're going out next weekend.
Oh, lovely.
But it tends to be
These are my favourites. Yeah. The great thing about these, this is like a shuttlecock buzzer or suspender buzzer, whatever you want to call it. This is Calder canard, the floating feathers that come from a duck's backside, and that's the buzzer bit there, and that sits in the water, sort of at that angle. And you've got this to see on the surface, and you're trying to spot it in amongst all the other bits of detritus.
Yeah.
And the only time you know is when you see what happened to Chris Sanford's mayfly. That great big lump comes out and eats it. Yeah, that's a lovely way to fish. And of course, a precursor to that really is that the Shipman's buzzer, designed by Dave Shipman. I don't know if he still has. He used to have a tackle shop in the Fens. And that's the famous Shipman buzzer.
Fly.
Deadly at Graffham. Deadly
nice
fly at Graffham, that can be, yeah. Oh, it's lovely. And this is the one, I expect one or two of the ladies might feel a bit doubtful about handling that. That's the,
yes, they're a bit unsure of that one.
the famous Apps bloodworm. It looks a bit like a genuine spider, doesn't it?
I tell you, the bit they struggle with the most is the legs. You know, when you try and put the leader through the eye, getting the legs out the way is a bit of a difficulty with that one.
I notice you've brought some leaders in with you, and you've brought in tapered leaders.
Yeah.
Do you advocate tapered leaders for starters?
I tend to. Largely just because, you know, it's a nicer cast, more presentable cast. So yes, I tend to push the tapered leaders more than anything.
And then do you use a tippet on the end?
It depends who it is. It depends largely on the weather conditions sometimes as well. If it's really windy, I'll just use one of those to keep it nice and short. But again, it just depends who it is. And
no, there's not enough there to knit me a jumper. So what's this bit of wool for?
The wool is, when I'm teaching beginners how to fish, the first thing we never do is we never put a hook on to begin with. This is for casting instruction largely.
So you put a bit of wool on the end of the line?
A bit of wool on the end of the line, and that's for practising the casting. Because the last thing we want is a hook on and someone hooking their eye or hooking someone else or hooking something.
All I can say is, Miss Bowden, I'm not surprised you're a coach. It looks blooming cold, but I think I could handle that. That looks magnificent.
The scenery as well is amazing, isn't it?
And the size those fish get to, I don't think this is the one he put back and grew bigger later, because he actually caught that one in February.
Wow.
But that's 54 pounds something.
Goodness me.
It's a magnificent cod. And you think, well, look at the size of that. Surely they don't get any bigger than that. But they do. And this one was caught earlier this year.
Wow.
And became a record £86.7. That was caught in Soraya as well, same sort of area. And that's a massive fish. It was like a world record. It would take a long time to beat that well. It was 2 weeks. And then that one was 2 days. So 2 days it took. Then that one was caught, and that one is £90.
Goodness me.
Yeah, he's going back next week to catch the chip. And that is a huge, huge fish, isn't it? Look at it's incongruous that should be a cod. I mean, I've seen some reasonable sized cod every time. £20 cod looks massive. They don't not like some fish look heavy, look less than they weigh. They look heavier than they weigh.
But
£90. You see, you've done a bit of sea fishing. Do you go offshore or off the beaches?
No, offshore on a boat. Yeah, largely mackerel and small cod. Not cod like that.
Well, on the north east coast.
But north east coast. Yeah, not far from home. So
because you got some cod, there's sort of always cod up there when you get off a bit.
There is, yes.
And I don't know, you've probably never fished off the rocks up there. I've only done it once. No. But you get these beautiful cod that live in the kelp, and they go really red. Nothing like that colour at all. They're reddy brown rock cod, they call them, and they're gorgeous. And you've also got, I think it's South Shields, one of the best fish and chip shops. It's ever been my privilege to have fish and chips in.